for more on the Air Canada labor disruption from a labor perspective. Let's bring in employment and labor lawyer Sundeep Gokhale to talk more. Sundeep, appreciate your time again this morning. So we just heard from Professor Ian Lee from the Sprott School of Business suggesting that this may ultimately go to the CIRB as a way of, going through this, maybe if this sort of lingers for a few days here. How do you potentially see this playing out, or do you see that as an inevitable step that may have to be taken?
Yeah, I think our federal government has bent over backwards to avoid impactful strikes. We saw that on the rail. We saw that with the ports. So we saw that with Canada Post in terms of them getting innovative in terms of trying to make sure that, Canadians aren't impacted as a result of a labor dispute. So I do think it's a high possibility that the CIRB will get involved if and when, the CUPE ultimately does go on strike.
Yeah, and Sundeep, right now, the reason for the strike, flight attendants are saying that they're not being paid for work that is being done before, they get on the plane and of course, wages. Air Canada did say that they raised it from 33 to 38%. What do you see as kind of recourse for flight attendants if they want to continue, if they want to get back to the bargaining table, but they're forced to go back to work?
Yeah, I think that is in and of itself. CUPE understands that they have leverage right now. There are hundreds of thousands of individuals who are relying on those flights for their summer plans right now. And they've strategically gone on to, or putting pressure on Air Canada and the government to a lesser extent to do something here as it relates to a core issue, which is flight attendants do want to get paid for that time that they are on the tarmac and not just limited to when they're in the air.
Sundeep, you talk about kind of the leverage they seem to have. I have to say, either anecdotally, just from people I speak to, or from the clips we get from people at the airport, it seems public opinion really is on the side of the flight attendants. People sort of understand, hey, like working but not getting paid for that time, that seems counterintuitive to so many of us here. Do you think, though, that it's a reality that by the end of this, wherever it goes or whichever way it goes, that they might actually be paid for that time before the plane pushes off away from the terminal?
Yeah, well, Air Canada's already proposed that parts of that work should get compensated. Now, they've proposed that it gets compensated at less than the hourly rate than they would otherwise be getting paid for. So I do think flight attendants will end up ahead as a result of this round of bargaining, but it's not to the extent that CUPE wants for its members, which is they should be compensated for that full period of time at their full rate.
Yeah, and I know we're talking on the labor side here, Sundeep, but what about customers who bought air travel insurance or anything like that? Does it cover strikes? What type of strikes does it cover? Because we're hearing from one viewer who says in the event of kind of something unannounced, it doesn't really cover it.
Yeah, I think Air Canada has already publicly stated that people will be fully refunded for their flights. I think it's the ancillary issues that arise of that. It's the cruise ships that they have booked for, the hotels, that necessarily they're not going to get money back. And that's the issue that, Canadians are putting pressure on Air Canada and the trade union to ultimately get a resolution here.
So, Sundeep, really quickly, in your industry, how closely are people watching this? Because, again, that unpaid time has been a situation that kind of has not been addressed to this point.
Yeah, that is, I think this has less to do with wages. 17.2% wage proposal over 4 years with 8% coming in year one is a significant proposal and extremely reasonable. I think this has to do more with the issue that you've just identified, which is pay us for the full amount of time that we're working, including that time we're stuck on the tarmac. Because that's oftentimes the hardest work for a flight attendant is the boarding, the safety checks, and the deplaning, and they want to get compensated for that.
Okay, labor and employment lawyer Sundeep Gokhale, thanks so much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sundeep.